Knock, knock.
Let's set the scene. You are a part of a pair of gangsters who want to make a name for themselves and commit the worst crimes imaginable. Robbery, rape, murder, and so on because you felt that you've been wronged in your life. That is, until you roll into an alleyway. But what makes this alleyway so special? A couple hobos and who knows what that's going on in the alley. And, what seems like, nothing more. But then you hear it. The scratching of metal chains sliding against the concrete, and what sounds like the chains sliding up a building. Your partner is hoisted out of your vision, and before you know it, you're all alone. The screams and the sounds of damnation and terror cloud your mind, and it's almost as if it came from the depths of hell itself. And then 5 words are uttered before you take your last breath.
Stay out of the alleys.
The world of superheroes and media has definitely taken a new shape on the scene as a whole ever since the 80s or 90s, and they've shown no real sign of stopping. They are the modern version of the Greek stories of the gods, and most of them, if not all of them, were shining examples of purity and all things good in the world. But the few that weren't were a lot more captivating. Batman is probably a superhero with the most flaws when it comes to their background. They don't even really fit the superhero title, as they're just some regular schmo with a lot of money. But their human nature is what made them so relatable, and that's just what the industry needed to make their stories more appealing. With Peter Parker as a bumbling nerd whose qualities still carry over when he dons the webhead wardrobe as Spider-Man, or Iron Man with his inclination to alcohol and womanizer status. But what if your story doesn't even really fit the superhero description? Enter the anti-heroes.
This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants. Fine! I only have 12 bullets, so you're gonna have to share. Let's count them down.
People who try to do what's right, but for the wrong reason. And in that effort, a lot more people than they bargained for start getting hurt. You got the obvious ones like Deadpool, Rorschach from The Watchmen, or The Punisher. Todd McFarlane, however, wanted to take a spin on both of these ideas in superhero culture and make a character that was dark and brooding, but knew what he was doing was wrong, and eventually turned him into a arguably better, more developed character in the long run. Al Simmons was an expert soldier in the US Marine Corps, and later a Secret Service member turned assassin who was sent out on high-risk missions until one went wrong, and he was killed by the man who hired him by the name of Jason Wynn. A deceased Al Simmons rises again like a phoenix from the ashes, except the ashes left him disfigured, and the phoenix isn't exactly the fairest sight to see.
Who the fuck are you? Your worst fucking nightmare.
He's returned to Earth as a hellspawn to do the bidding of a demon by the name of Malboja, who sent his underling named the Violator to look after him, who raises a clown.
And I hate clowns.
It is set for the now-named Spawn to search the Earth for answers as to how he got to where he was and how, if he can, get himself out of it. All of this and more was interpreted in the later, critically acclaimed show called Todd McFarlane's Spawn, where he's voiced by Keith David, which took a few cues from earlier cartoons, more in one area than others. What amazes me at the time of the show's conception in comparison to its predecessors is how much it diverted from the norm. Sure, there probably were some shows of its time that tried to do this better, but have ultimately failed in the long run. What I'm talking about in particular is the lack of restraint in how the characters speak and how the show presents itself. Everything is violent and in your face about the situation, and the people pulling the strings to put it all together made sure that no details were left out in order for the viewer to fully capture the pain that Al Simmons suffers throughout his journey.
What the hell are you?
The world of New York, if done right, can be seen as the beacon for the US. Referencing Spider-Man once again, the world is jubilant and filled with life through every step of the way. Meanwhile, Spawn does the complete opposite and only really focuses on the slums and depressing nature that is New York at night. Dozens of beggars plague the streets and are treated like trash, People are killed, robbed, and murdered day in and day out, and is regarded with a passing glance. Despite being a hellspawn, Al has to revel in this lifestyle for the time that he is given on the earth once more, as he cannot show his face without scaring anyone off, except for his hobo friends. The show is divvied into 3 seasons that detail the character development of Al and his former associates, each one getting tighter than the last. Wynn is now a wealthy businessman who pulls the strings from the shadows and sends in plenty of hired guns and otherwise to do the dirty work he needs to keep his status. Al's wife, Wanda Blake, works as a lawyer in New York and is now engaged with Al's best friend, Terry Fitzgerald, who had a child named Cyan. The hobos that live with Al all serve less as supporting characters and more as the straws that will soon break the camel that is Spawn's Hellfire Blaze back. Outside of these main few, there are a couple characters later in the show that we meet to help tie up any loose ends, but to keep it brief, it doesn't end well for most of them. And finally, I get to talk about the one thing I always enjoy talking about, and that is the animation. The show definitely takes notes from the Batman animated series in '92 and turns it up to 11 to illustrate the cruel reality that isn't Gotham, but instead New York. You can see it all in the first few episodes. The vivid details when Spawn's tearing off his own skin to reveal that he isn't who he once was anymore, or how many things react to the shot of a gunfire. The moments where we get to see Spawn in action, however, are truly when the cartoon shines. His outfit dons a black and white skin-like leotard, except it's his actual skin, and he's covered by a red and black Doctor Strange-like cloak in that it can be controlled in many mystical yet deadly instances, which also brandishes a chain whip for all sorts of crazy kills.
Fatality. Spawn wins.
On top of that, he was burdened with powers from hell that manifest into a green-like glow that can be used for all sorts of magical, maniacal, and messy trouble. Even with all these powers, however, some people can't escape their old ways, and if it comes down to it, he dons several firearms at his disposal that he stole from a weapons transport requested by Jason Wynn, bringing it all together to make the warlord of Mount Bowser's armies.
You're gonna give him my message? Cause guess what? As far as I know, I'm already dead. Which means I'm waiting for your sorry ass in the afterlife.
Overall, Spawn as a character and TV show was truly an experience, and I say that a lot with the stuff I watch and enjoy, but I really mean it. Because at the time, I was definitely in a show hole, as one would call it, where I had nothing to watch. I really have Mortal Kombat to thank for showing me this character, and Keith, David, for bringing him to life. But until next time,